My name is Jurgen Neuberg. I'm working for Leeds University in the UK. I am working package leader for working package 6 that was concerned with the monitoring capacity. Monitoring capacity in volcano observatories. And that means we worked a lot with our partner institution in the Caribbean and in Latin America. So mainly Ecuador in Quito and also Montserrat. Those were the two places we cooperated with closely. Well, there are some purely scientific results, and one is to understand the seismicity much better and what we can really learn from the seismicity. So, in particular in Montserrat, we found out that we can use so-called long period or low frequency seismicity as a magma ascent rate indicator. So whenever we have a swarm of seismicity, we can now really see as the magma column ticks upwards, and we can calibrate this and we can say how fast we have an ascent rate. And that's very important because ascent rate tells us in which state the magma arrives at the surface. If it's very fast, it still has a lot of gas and a lot of potential to explode. If it goes slowly, then it will be just an extrusion and it crumbles as it comes out, as it mostly does on Montserrat. The second was really in Ecuador, where we looked at the tilt. Tilt means the rotation of the edifice of a volcano, and that's a very good indicator. And people so far always said if a tilt signal is there, then the volcano either inflates or deflates. And we found out there is another very important aspect to it, because if we have a viscous magma column creeping upwards, then it pulls up the whole edifice, and that produces a tilt signal if the ascent rate is fast enough, which is by far more important than the actual inflation or deflation. So we reinterpreted these tilt signals again in terms of ascent rate. And that, I think, these are the two major purely scientific results we came up with in cooperation with our... Well, I think these scientific things were highlights, and the simulations were also highlights, where we sat together with the people out there and we had on the spot to discuss certain data sets, and we interpreted those. And we saw how the emergency agencies took our advice on board. But what a really lesson for me is how difficult it was to get some of our suggestions, even computer programs and our advice, really on board. I mean, how much of a problem we had sometimes about the uptake of our advice. That was a bit of a surprise to me. I was always thinking observatories in that situation are very hungry for support, for money, for computer programs and all that advice, and that doesn't seem to be always the case. So there are many other issues which need to be observed, and that it has mostly to do with trust and things like this, and only then you can expect that an observatory changes its culture and takes things on board. Because an observatory, has a certain routine, and they work very well with that. So if you come from outside, and even if you think you have all the proper recipes to help them, it's very hard sometimes to convince them, to at least think about it, if they then take it on board or not. That was, for me, I think, one of the lessons learned and one of the big surprises in this whole project.